Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Alright, I wanted to do this video, okay, as a exhortation, and just a few headlines here, alright, from RT News. As you can see, they're getting more and more draconian, okay, but with the direction in which, things are headed, we only understand that it's going to get more and more intense, and these new chokeholds, all right, these new chokeholds that they're bringing upon the people, all right, are going to become the norm, okay, they're going to become the norm. Now, one main part of that is your jobs, okay, your place of employment, all right, which a lot of people, okay, are gonna start to feel that that squeeze very tightly around that area, because of course with last year, this year, the way things have been going, it hasn't been the best, so to speak, for people, so you finally get a job and you're doing what you got to do, but you should be well aware of the fact that you might not be able to keep that job, in a few weeks or a few months or however long until they decide, which they will, that everywhere to do anything, we need to make sure that you're safe. We need to make sure that you don't pose a threat to anybody else that's going to be in this environment. So everywhere it's going to be required. Okay, just as you can see in the headline, all right, in museums, cinemas, swimming pools, healthcare workers, okay, but there's gonna be teachers, okay, it's gonna be wherever you go, bus drivers, people working in restaurants, it's gonna be everywhere, and you need to understand or be prepared mentally that when they do present it to you at your job, well, chances are that you could lose your job. And don't expect the Supreme Court or anything to rule in your favor. Now, as of right now, they're pushing, but they're slow. They're slowing it down because they're waiting for that justification from the FDA. And from the, it's like they're being held back. And once the FDA does say, hey, you know what, we've approved this, it's no longer an emergency authorization, it's now been fully approved, it's gonna be like a dam breaking, and the water just, like a breaking forth of waters. All right, and it's gonna come to places where essential places and non-essential places. Okay, I mean, if they're saying this, if they're going as far as to tell people to refrain from talking, what I'm saying? They're not planning on stopping. The chokehold is gonna get tighter and tighter and tighter. But you need to have faith, because there are people out there who are afraid to possibly lose their job or afraid of these things, and you need to understand that this is reality, and the reality of it is that it's not gonna feel good. It's gonna be happening, but it's not gonna feel good, and you need to understand that. As yes, we've been prophesying of this, but guess what? We also work. We also go to the grocery store. We also go to museums, and we go to these different places. So it's going to affect us as well. Okay, it's going to affect us as well as they turn up the heat more and more, and get harsher and harsher on those who who are trying to slip off the chokehold, so to speak. So be prepared in your mind for that, and have faith, because you will have people that end up saying, you know what, I thought this is what I was with, but it's too much for me, and either, well, I got a good job and I don't want to lose it, or I don't know what I'm gonna do, I'm running out of savings. Those are talks where you need to reassess your mind with faith. All right, so because it's only gonna get worse, it's not gonna get better, it's only gonna get worse from here. Okay, this is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 16, and I'll start at verse 37. And it says, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. And you see what's happening in China, with the floods. You know, the Most High is he's putting into the minds, all right, of these devils to push these draconian measures, to speak as that dragon, to finally start speaking as that dragon. And what is one thing they said? Let us make an image to the beast. Okay, so to start speaking, but while the dragon is speaking, while the beast is speaking, the Lord is also, you know, throwing them natural disasters, different forms of, there will be different forms of pestilence, different types, you know, floods, you know, earthquakes, and just crazy disasters. So as it says here, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. As when a woman with child is in the 9th month, or a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. So that's an example, you know, as Yahushua said, the beginning of sorrows, right? That's the birth pains, the great pains compassing her. So we are in those 2 to 3 hours before the birth. All right, we could be right at the birth. We could be, but you can tell by how the worse things get, right? The more draconian, the more intense they get. That's likening onto the more painful it's getting, meaning that you're even closer to the child coming forth. As it says, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come upon it on every side. See? So the plagues are hitting, all right, but it's increasing. And it's going to get to the point where the angels are going to let loose, as it says in Revelation 7, of the 4 corners. You know, the other angels are going to be pouring out their vials, and it's just going to be bad. Okay, it's not going to slowly get worse anymore. It's just going to boom. And you need to be prepared mentally for that. But it is going to start. And there's a reason it's called a chokehold. Because when you're in a chokehold and it's getting tighter, it's not like, you know, once they put you in a chokehold and they squeeze all the way, that's when you can't breathe. Your oxygen is being cut off. From the instant they put they put your neck there, and then they start to squeeze, your regular oxygen intake is already being limited, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Okay, so we already know, you know, they come in with the schools, but what do you think is next? Jobs. Okay, jobs, because they know how to get people. They know people, if you want to eat, you got to work, and that's going to be it's going to be hard on a lot of people's minds, and it's going to require faith. You can think of it as one of because the Lord knows all this, but it's one of the, you know, the rounds, so to speak, to weed out those who have more faith than others, because people, all right, are gonna give in. They're gonna say, I have kids, I have a family, you know, how am I gonna keep? And instead of having faith, all right, even though you don't, the scripture said we walk by faith, not by sight. So things that happen are not necessarily what you see. Things happen, there are things that you don't see that happen. So whatever might happen in the future is not, you can't always base that based on what you're seeing now, because the Most High is the one who declares the end from the beginning. All right, so it says, and so you got to have faith on that level. But people will break. They'll say, look, man, it's not that serious. Some of them will say, look, man, it ain't the MOB, so I'm going to take it, but when the MOB comes, I ain't going to take that. People will make different excuses to drop out. But as it says here, all right, knowing ahead of time that this is what's going to happen, you should have been preparing your mind and getting ready and knowing that you would have to go through this. And you will. Okay? You will. This is verse 39, verse 40. O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils, those bad times, be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So you need to understand, if as a pilgrim, you cannot be attached, okay, to things on a certain level, because you need to move. You need to go from one place to another. You can't, if you're attached, that makes it difficult to do that. Verse 41, but he that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. Meaning, whatever you're doing is not permanent. It's not permanent. And as you're about to see and witness, look, man, they're not going to stop. They're not going to chill out. Okay? Just because they take their foot off, or they make it look like they're taking their foot off the gas a bit, doesn't mean they're going in reverse. Those are two different things. They're still going in the direction that prophecy says they have to go in. They're not going to go in reverse. They're not going to turn around and do a U-turn. It's not going to happen. All right, verse 42. He that occupieth merchandise, as he that hath no profit by it, and he that buildeth, as he that shall not dwell therein. Okay? He that soweth, as if he should not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard, as he that shall not gather the grapes. So what does this mean? This means in your mind, you got to understand that, look, whatever you're doing now, of course you do what you got to do. While you're still here, you do what you got to do. But have it in your mind that whatever you're doing now isn't going to be something that's going to necessarily last and, benefit you going on, 5, 10, 20 years, that kind of mindset. You can get that out your head. Be prepared that at any moment, whatever you're doing now, doesn't matter how much work you've put into it, it could all just, boom, you could just lose it just like that. And if you're ready in your mind to be able to go through something like that, then you'll be all right. Okay, but if you're, that's why you got to prioritize and set your focus on this truth, because if your focus is too much in something else, when the time comes when you have to let it go, it'll be hard for you. You don't want to let it go. You worked hard, you got this career, good job, you know what I'm saying, you might have a woman that's not in the truth. You may have kids, she may not even know what you're doing. She just knows that you're providing. And now because of this, you can't keep that, depending on, maybe you're living in a decent house, maybe you're paying mortgage, whatever it is, maybe you're paying apartment rent, maybe you're paying a car note. What happens to all these? Because of one decision. You say, well, they said at my job I gotta, and now I can't, so now what? Literally, that's a lot of people are not gonna know where to turn. She might not, be with it. She might say, yo, go. She might even have it. And she might say, are you crazy? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna feed the kids? How are we gonna pay the bills? Because you don't want to take, so you got to be prepared to lose all that. She might just take the kids and leave you and go, hey, I'm just making up things right now, but I'm putting different scenarios out there. And, because these are real things. It may not be the fun, especially if you're in a predicament like that, it may not be fun to think about. But how much less fun do you think it'll be when you actually go through it? But that's why you need to have faith. That's why faith is the key thing. You need to build up your faith. When you have faith, you will be all right. You will be stable in the mind. You will not know what exactly to do next, but you'll be okay with it. Because you know that the Lord will lead you down the right path. And when the time comes, He'll show you the path and you will go on it. Okay? With faith, you'll understand that, hey, it's okay for me not to see the way out right now. I know that there's a way out, and that's enough to keep me stable. Some people bug out because they can't see the way out. But just because you can't see a way out doesn't mean there is no way out. That's faith. Verse 44. Verse 43. He that soweth as if he should not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. So imagine that. You do the work, you plow, you have your oxen plow, you using a plowshare, you're planting you're dropping the seeds in the ground, you're watering it, and you're doing all that work, but then shit happens and then you got to dip. He that soweth as if he should not reap. So here it is, you done put in the work, and then the time of harvest is coming, but you got to dip, you got to go. You have to be ready in your mind to do that. And that's an example of working, setting up something that's going to benefit you, but in having to leave before you can reap the benefits. You got to be prepared for that. And if you cannot detach from that, well, it's going to be like the rich man that Yahushua told to go and sell everything he had and come and follow him, and he couldn't do it. Okay, because he couldn't detach. Verse 44, they that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. Okay? Because understand that when you have children, you want to make sure that it's in a decent place. You know, you're good, so where it's not a struggle, because being in a struggle and having kids, it's a whole nother type of struggle. I'm not speaking from experience because I don't have kids. Okay? But I'm speaking from experience of what I've come to find out. All right? Not personally, but you need to understand that in that situation it's much harder. When you're trying to survive in a let's say a dangerous area, it's one thing when you have to watch out for yourself, but it's another when you have to watch out for a child, because a child has more necessities or require more things, more protection. You got to do double the work, okay, if not triple. And knowing that all hell is about to break loose, it wouldn't be the best idea, okay, to do that, because it's not going to be a safe place. And it's not going to be a good idea to say, okay, well, I know all hell's about to break loose, but now I'm going to have a child. What happens if your wife is pregnant? Now, if the Lord has that go that way, then, hey, so be it. He had it happen for a reason, and he can protect you. Okay? Verse 45, and therefore they that labor in vain. See, they that labor in vain. And you have to understand that it doesn't matter how good your job is, how comfortable you are, shit is gonna hit, man, and it's not gonna be fun, and the comfortability will stop. But through faith, you'll gain an even greater comfortability. But you need to pass that test. It's the initial shock that's the hardest. But once you lock into the spirit and you overcome that, it'll be like clockwork. All right, moving on. This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 3. It says, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Because it's going to feel like, hold on, if I'm trying to do what's right, why is it so hard for me and everybody else has it easy? It's going to feel like that sometimes. Here it is, I'm trying to do what's right, but I'm catching all this hell. What about that? That's where you're going against the vibration of a wicked world. But the hell that you're going to catch is going to work for you a far greater reward than the pleasure that they're gaining for a moment. Because the hell they're going to catch, trust and believe, you don't want to, you take your hell. All right, you take whatever you have to endure. So if it means losing a job to gain salvation, hell yeah. Or whatever it is. Okay? But the Lord is going to, he's basically going to ease us off of that, the carnal things. He's going to ease us off of that and hook us onto the fullness of the spiritual things, to where now you don't depend on going to work to get food or to get money. Now you depend on the Lord. You're moving from the carnal to the spiritual. You need where you have to exercise faith for anything. Literally, because you won't have to. You see, right now you can have the power. You wake up in the morning, right? On a basic level, you wake up in the morning, you drive to work, you work. If you want to quit, you quit. If you want to get a job, you go look for a job. And then they pay you, and then you use your money for what you want to use it for. But in that time, it's not going to be like that. How are you going to eat? You need to have faith. How are you going to get from one place to another? How are you going to be protected? The Lord is going to have it to where, in order to make it out of what we're about to go through, you need to live on faith. All right, that's the key to it. Now this is James chapter 1 verse 2. It says, my brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations. You know what's an example of a diverse temptation? You can't work unless you get bitten. All right, we put you in this chokehold. You can't work unless you take. Oh, it does. If you are working, well, we can't pay you because there's no way to pay you. There's only one way we pay, and unless you get that way, we can't pay. Okay, so if that's okay, then you're good. But that's an example of diverse temptations. It's called the hour of temptation. And if you can't make it out of this, how do you expect to make it out of that? Do you think the temptation is going to be easier? Of course not. So you need to be mentally prepared to make hard decisions. Okay? That you're going to have to live with. But understand that it's going to be temporary, because when Yahweh Shai comes back, all that is going to be gone, done. All right, whatever you had to go through is going to be no more. All right, it's going to be wiped away. Verse 3, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, which patience, when you go into the word, it goes into enduring. All right, verse 4, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Okay, so whatever you find yourself in, guess what? The Lord has put that obstacle in your way so that patience can have her perfect work and that you may be perfect and entire. Okay, so don't be afraid of it. It has to happen. It has to happen. Now, when it happens, you, depending on how you go about it, that, you know, you want to get on the chariot, you want to get delivered, you want to make it through whatever else is to come, you're going to need to make the right decision at that time. All right, now this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 1. It says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. And for a while, we you know, as we comply with the laws of the land, we move with wisdom. But the time is coming when you're going to have to go all out. You're going to have to fully, literally, there's going to be no room for Clark Kent. Impossible. They're going to force us into the point where you literally cannot do anything. And you need to make that stand. Okay, you need to go with it all the way. See? And that's when it's gonna separate the faithful from the faithless. Verse 2, looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and finisher of our faith. That's what we're gonna look onto. Because he's the reason, all right, ultimately from the Most High, but he's the reason that we got this faith to begin. Remember, the scripture says it's a gift. So we got the faith from Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai to start. We need the faith from Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai to finish. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. All right, and we're going to have to go through certain things as well. Okay, but as we see it coming, a wise, a prudent man foreseeth the evil. So what are we to do? We are to prepare the only way we can, and that's spiritually. All right, and you know, doing what's pleasing to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, praying to the Lord that he may give us the strength and the spirit to be able to make these decisions and stand by them and not give in for however long we must endure it for. All right, so with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying unto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai B'Hashem Rakha Kudash. Until next time, Shalom.